right, welcome to Close Call. We're here with James Urie, and we're going to be talking all about the difference between marketing sequences and sales sequences. There's some misconceptions about this, and James is going to explain where he's heard this question, why there's so much confusion, and we're going to talk about what the differences really are and when you can use the best one for your business. So, first off, to get us started, James, I was wondering if maybe you could give us a little bit more context. Where are you hearing this question about marketing sequences versus sales sequences? What's the confusion here between these two different types of sequences?
Totally. So, I mean, here at Close, we sell a sales tool. We're a sales CRM. And so when people are evaluating a CRM, they have certain expectations. Sometimes they're truly in alignment with what we can do really well. Sometimes they aren't. And so a feature that we have in Close is email sequences are just sequences in general, right? The ability to add emails, calls to a sequence. And a question that comes up a good chunk of the time with our sales team is, well, what's the difference between a marketing sequence and a sales sequence? A lot of people have the expectation that they're one and the same, or they're coming in with the expectation that they need to build a marketing sequence in our CRM, which we're not built for that. We're built for sales sequences. And so we find ourselves clarifying the difference a lot of the time. And I would say this is 40% of sales calls that we're actually clarifying the difference. And that doesn't mean that it's always a deal killer for us. It's just we clarified that. That's where we're strong in the market with sales sequences, not marketing automation and marketing sequences. And so we find ourselves clarifying and educating a good deal of the time. And so I thought we should talk about this and clarify it and get it out there. And if you're looking for clarification, you'll find it on this call.
Awesome. So, when people are confusing the difference or maybe thinking that they're one and the same, marketing and sales sequences, how does that affect the company? If they're trying to do a marketing sequence or a sales sequence and confusing the difference between them, how is that going to affect their results?
Significantly, because they serve two different purposes. We'll start with the marketing side. A marketing sequence is meant to target someone who's much earlier in the sales cycle, right? They have a much lower buying intent. And so there are a couple of different purposes in targeting someone who has much lower buying intent. The first scenario is taking someone on a marketing journey who has never bought your product or service, but is considered a marketing qualified lead, right? This is the demographic that you're targeting that you know will probably eventually buy your service or product because they're a good market fit for what you offer. And so you're targeting them and creating awareness of your product, your service via a marketing sequence. A lot of time this is email. And now recently, you see these things on Instagram where they're putting a sequence in motion targeting a specific demographic. And you're scrolling through Instagram, you see these things that are extremely well curated to you. And I'm guilty of this. Like my favorite clothing brand, I initially saw it on Instagram and now I buy it all the time. So they got me, like it worked, right? But I was not thinking about that, but they knew I was the target demographic. This is the same for those ads or in an email campaign or a drip campaign, creating awareness of the product or brand because they perceive you as a marketing qualified lead. And so they take you on this marketing journey where the intent is not to get you to reply to that email or that ad and say, hey, I'm interested, right? Like that's not the intent. It's to get you to eventually take some kind of action, whether that's pushing you to a landing page or pushing you to products that you might be interested, in my case, clothing, and get you looking and browsing and thinking about becoming a buyer as it falls off. And hopefully you take action and actually follow through with the purchase at some point. So it's creating that awareness. Now, that's for someone who's never bought your product or service. The other side of it is, and I'm sure a lot of people are very aware of this, you've already purchased that product or service. And now that company, that brand wants to continue to create awareness of new products or services or deals that they're running or resources that they're offering to you to help make your life a little easier on the resources side or new products that they see are going to be a good fit for you. So you probably get a ton of these emails in your inbox on a regular basis. You purchased a pair of pants in the past and now they're targeting you with new gear that they're offering. I get emails from REI all the time, these types of places. Sometimes I click on subscribe to some of these places, right? And that is a marketing sequence Sometimes I don't because I do want to be aware of the deals that they're running when I want to buy that new jacket or that new pair of pants, whatever it might be. Same for a product or a service like a SaaS platform, right? We just released this feature. Here's a new resource that we have on the market, just continuing to maintain that relevancy for your previous or current customers so that ultimately they're either going to purchase again or they're going to buy up into a higher tier of something that you're offering.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we do here at Close too. It's interesting on the marketing team as an example of this as well. When we have someone who, for example, downloads a certain resource that we offer, they give us their email address, and we will subsequently send them an email sequence, a marketing sequence that's tailored to the resource that they've downloaded. If they downloaded something about, for example, sales hiring, we talk to them about what it's like starting a new sales team. Or if they've downloaded something about, for example, the CRM buyer's guide, we talk to them about buying a new CRM, right? So these kind of email sequences on the marketing side come in when you see someone that has a particular level of interest but isn't quite ready to buy yet. And then what you said, creating relevancy over time. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And you're taking them from the close perspective on a journey that's relevant to the resource that they clicked on.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Cool. And then to clarify, the other side of it is sales sequences. What is the difference, right? So a sales sequence is the marketing qualified lead or the prospect that you've identified is much closer to taking a buying action now. In this instance, there's a couple scenarios, right? If it's really high volume and it doesn't require a salesperson, these sequences typically in email are going to be far more curated to actually getting you to click buy and purchase that product. Or if it's really high volume and it's kind of self-service, with it's like a product, they want to give you resources to successfully onboard onto the product or the service by yourself and purchase. Now, for a sales process that requires a human being to be involved, and that's really typical in the SaaS world and consultative sales, where a human being really adds a lot of value, having a conversation with you about the product, about the service, and getting you closer to buying. And these are, a lot of times higher ticket. You're paying a far larger amount for the product or service. And typically you want to talk to a human being and make sure that this is going to be a good product, service, solution for you. And therefore, as you express a much higher buying intent, then you're enrolled into a sales sequence. And this could be just emails. It could be a combination of emails, calls, text messages, social media outreach, right? Where the salesperson on the other end needs to go out and engage that prospect or that sales qualified lead to take them closer to purchasing your product. Now, a lot of our customers, what we do here as well is we enroll them into an automated email sequence right out of the gate. And these are not sequences versus like a marketing email, right? That's the HTML, it's pictures, it's, you know, clickable buttons where you can go and be redirected to something else. This is a plain text email. This is a salesperson reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm here. I can help you make this decision. Here's how to do it." Right? We want them to reply to these emails. We want them to schedule a call with us so that we can actually help them make a buying decision. Now, if they're not engaging with those emails, sales folks are going to try a different channel. They're going to call you and try and engage you that way, whether it's just that discovery call, qualifying you, making sure you're a good fit, or just scheduling a call and getting you to someone who can help you. And then, sometimes people use the SMS channels where they're actually texting these folks and getting them to engage. Maybe that's a more useful channel for them. Maybe their sales qualified leads don't answer their phone. Maybe they don't read their emails, right? Text messages work for them. Or social media, LinkedIn, whatever it is. Some people use, Facebook, some people use WhatsApp, whatever it is, but going out and finding a way to engage these people. So, at a very high level, a sales sequence is meant to engage the sales qualified lead, someone who is closer to making a purchase. Their buying intent is much higher, and now they need to engage.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes so much sense. It's true. So then there's some pretty big differences between marketing sequences and sales sequences. So when people have this confusion between the two, what breaks? What goes wrong when there's that confusion if they don't understand the differences between the two?
Well, you could choose the wrong tool for what you're trying to do. If you are trying to do, and this is actually a common mistake that we see a lot of people trying to fudge a sales sequence into a marketing tool. Doesn't work that well if it's a specialty tool for
Hmm.
marketing. I've seen people try it. It just doesn't work that well. That tool is built for marketing automation, taking someone on a marketing journey, not a sales journey. It's going to create friction and confusion somewhere along the lines of onboarding onto that product. And then they come to close, and then we go through that clarification, right? The reason you weren't successful is because you were using a marketing tool, not a sales tool. And so we bring them in and, their eyes light up and they're like, this is what I was trying to do in the first place. And so we can actually help them create that sales sequence, which is meant to engage somebody. And the opposite can happen, right? Someone could go to a sales tool and try and fudge a marketing journey versus a sales journey, and you're going to create problems there. And if that's what someone comes in, they get on a demo with our sales team, and that's what they're looking for is a marketing sequence or marketing automation tool, we'll be the first ones to say, not us. We're not a good fit for you. If you don't need sales sequences and you only need that, not a good fit. We don't want to convert you as a customer because we know in a couple months you're not going to be happy. You're going to churn. Right. And so we'll be the first ones to tell them no. So that's where a lot of that friction takes place and where you could have a lot of difficulty if you're trying to do one in a tool that is not meant for that type of sequence.
Hmm. And I'm gonna guess too that probably even the reporting and looking at the results of these would also
Yes.
be more difficult if you're using the wrong tool. I'm thinking of, for example,
100%.
with email sequences in Close, the reporting is so focused, especially on getting replies, because that's
Yes.
what you want in a sales sequence, right? You wanna get
Yes.
replies.
Exactly, exactly. The analytics are totally different. When you go to report to your leadership team, they're like, "This is not what we're looking for." You're like, "This is not what I need." So, yeah, you're 100% accurate. That's another point of friction that you run into.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thanks so much, James. So now we have it super clear. Marketing, sales sequences, not the same thing. Don't mistake them because you might end up choosing the wrong tool for it. But if you are interested in sales sequences, James can tell us where to go for that.
Yep. We can clarify this additionally for you on a sales call and take you through a sales buying journey, not a marketing journey. But if you have more additional questions on this, happy to answer them. If you are looking for a sales tool where you're trying to do sales sequences, Close does that. We're not built for marketing automation, but we are very good at sales sequences. So if that's what you're looking for, you're living in the wrong tool, ping us, close.com, talk to sales, start a trial, and we can help you out there.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for ideas for your sales sequence, we're also going to link below to an awesome resource that helps us with some real sequences from real brands that gives us some really good examples of sequences that we can do. And we'll link that below as well. So thanks for
Sweet.
joining us, James.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.